Germany's outgoing Chancellor Angela Merkel arrived in Israel for her final official visit after 16 years in office.
Aber es bleibt ein Glücksfall der Geschichte, dass es gelungen ist, nach der Shoah zwischen Deutschland und Israel solche Beziehungen aufzubauen. Und deshalb wird das Thema der Sicherheit Israels auch immer ein zentrales Thema für jede deutsche Regierung bleiben.
And so joining us now to reflect on the Israel-Germany relationship under Merkel and discuss the future of relations under a new government is Joel Schalit, editor-in-chief of the Battleground and a journalist of European Union affairs. Welcome.
Pleased to be on your show.
So we've seen a very warm reception for Angela Merkel. Bennett saying the relationship between the two countries has never been stronger as it was during her term. What are your thoughts on this?
It's been a very, very controlled relationship on the German part, because on the one hand, there have been profound policy disagreements with Netanyahu during his time in office. And on the other hand, there's been a profound expression of German commitment to Israel per se, whether it's with the JCPOA agreement with Iran or with military cooperation with Israel in various fields, both industrial and in terms of aid, military aid from Germany to Israel.
Now, in her time in office, I mean, you mentioned that there were some major policy disagreements. What were some of perhaps the highlights that you could tell us about?
There was always, Angela Merkel was always really upset about the lack of progress on the Palestinian front and about the achievement of a two-state solution. The peace process was stalled for most of her time in office, and she blamed the Netanyahu government for that. And one might remember her former foreign minister, Sigmar Gabriel, being extremely outspoken on that issue, particularly when he came to visit Israel a number of years ago. So, and it's been a thorn in the German-Israeli side for the nearly the entirety of her time in office. She was much closer with Ehud Olmert, for example, before Netanyahu. But nonetheless, Merkel went the extra mile to support Israel, to provide Israel with economic and military assistance, and to increase what they call intergovernmental consultations, as they say in German, between Berlin and Jerusalem, with now 13 years of meetings between the two governments. Today's visit for Merkel is a mini consultation, not a major one, such as the consultations which have transpired since 2008 prior to this.
Now, looking forward, what can we expect in terms of the Israel-Germany relationship now? What can you tell us about the new government? Merkel said that security would always be a central policy issue for Germany. What can you tell us looking forward?
One of Merkel's singular achievements in office was to create a uniform German foreign policy towards Israel that transcends the particular party that may be in office in any given time. If you talk to German politicians today, whether they be from the CDU, or the SPD, the Greens, or even the AfD, there is a fundamental commitment on both the right and the left to maintaining a very strong military and economic relationship with Israel, one which it, for historical reasons, obviously will always favor Israel. This SPD government will essentially, or the one that we envision coming in with the Greens and the FDP as is being currently mooted, will essentially continue many of the same policies that Merkel has had in place for Israel during her time in office. There will be no substantial difference whatsoever. The SPD was very outspoken about Israel during the 11 days war in May, and this will remain constant, assuming the SPD takes the chancellorship in the next few weeks.
All right, well, let's hope that Germany and Israel continue warm relations. Joel Schalit, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today.
Nice to be with you all.